This is D-Boy at West Coast Uncensored. How's everybody doing? I think today, or I know today, is June the 6th. I always say that. It's kind of a test because I really want people to see the thing about using certain words and languages like think and believe, that they are actually words that show you don't know. And I think that we're living in the age and time where we're becoming knowers. And if we don't know something, we don't say, I believe, and I got a feeling, and I got an opinion. I don't. I think opinions are like opiates. Everybody's got one. And especially, and opiates get you high, but keep you addicted. And we get addicted to our belief systems. So why I say that is that I think it's the age of saying, if you know something, you know it. And you know it 100%, and you have the knowledge of it. You experienced it through the transmitter of your intuition and your conscious, which goes into your consciousness, and almost as a your consciousness I'm seeing is almost like a transmitter, like your antenna, your hair. And if you don't know something, don't say you know it. Just say, that's something I don't know. I tell people that all the time, but I hear a lot of people will say, well, I believe it's this, or this is what I think. That's not rational thinking. And as we were waking today into a higher consciousness, we're leaving those program areas of belief system. And we're getting rid of the lingo or language and linguistics of belief systems. So what I wanted to talk about is something I dropped a little in a higher chats. I'm going to call this stuff that I drop, these little 4-minute videos, 5-minute videos. It's going to lead to a longer video. I'm going to call them higher side chats. That will be the name of them. But I'm going to talk about something I dropped one about a few weeks ago, and it's breath, relationship, and elevation. And I'm going to talk about how the breath is with you from the very onset of your life. You come through your mother's womb and you start breathing. You don't need a class. You don't need a degree to learn how to use the breath. You come out naturally connected to you, like your lungs and all that, and in every aspect of your chest and your lungs and your breathing and your respiratory system automatically resuscitates with an in and out motion. So even from the very beginning, the breath attaches to you and doesn't leave you until you leave this form. So the breath is, to me, as I'm seeing, is so connected to you. And then sometimes we don't understand that if you learn techniques of the breath, because it is air, it is ether, it can go into the ether realm in consciousness metaphysically, that breath will consciously, if you learn to breathe with breathing techniques, it can consciously take you to another conscious level of understanding and actually go into dimensionals in different aspects of yourself, because this is all connected to with you. I always like to use the word that everything about you and everything inhibited within yourself, because we always want to get that message across that it's all within, right? That every aspect of this is all within. So if it's all within the whole universe, all of self is connected to you within. So when you look at the things of that breath, it's a relationship and elevation. That is, the relationship with you is from the onset. Now, any relationship will take the both sides to come into a unity of one. So you have to, if you don't understand that your relationship with breath is based on one thing, you can't see it. But you can feel it. You even feel it when you take it in and you let it out. It's a universal system. The breath is, because what it does is teaches you how to take and give. Take the breath in, give it, let it go. Take it in, let it go. It's also connected to your currency, your current, your electricity, which even goes into the aspects of, even would go into your business, or you're drawing currency to you into the aspect of money, because money is not the big thing of it. It's the fact that it's connected to currency. So all this thing, so if you were to be able to be a technician with air, which is connected to you, I see it as a husband, a mother, father. I see it as all that aspects of yourself, right? That you're dealing with all those aspects of yourself, that you would actually be able to see that the money or the breath is the unseen part of yourself that you know is the number one thing connected to you, is the unseen part of yourself. And as it goes through your nostrils and your breathing, it hits two aspects of yourself and that would be the Gemini aspect of yourself, which is your lungs, respiratory system, and learning how to take in air through different techniques and breathing actually is the way to take yourself into a higher consciousness. It would be every bit as equal as taking a substance if you were to know the techniques and mastering, because actually in occultic language, check this out, this is pretty cool. In occultic language, taking a mushroom, taking any type of DMT, ayahuasca, and anything like that from a natural system, even LSD, which is a chemical system, we're taking any of that, it would give you a higher consciousness experience. But the occultist and the alchemist would call that going through the back door. And learning how to breathe and taking in and learning breathing techniques actually is called, check this out, going through the front door. Now, I'm getting away from judgment. Of course, this is bad or this is good, but you be the measurement of what you think you could do. Some of the things I think that you could see if you learn how to breathe, you will not have the hangover aspect of it, because what happens if you do any kind of LSD, any kind of mushrooms, any kind of ayahuasca? It's a great experience, but a lot of times we tend to give the experience to the substance. And then if we go on doing the substance for 1-2 days, a weekend, what ends up happening is the substance will get us very tired, and we'll get sore, and we'll get our body will ache, and we'll need a lot of rest. And why you would need that is because the aspect of the substance is actually connect to your spinal cord and is taking fluid, so your body's kind of been taken of the fluid into a lot of usage, so your body ends up being sore, and you feel the bodily effects, and you need rest, and you need rest for a few days or a day, depending on you. But actually, if you learn the breathing aspect, you never see, because breath is so connected, it's one with you, that you don't give credit to a substance outside of you, but you'll give every amount of credit to the breath, which would be yourself in the aspect of it, and it will not have the bodily hangover symptoms that you would get taking a substance. That's how that works. So that's really important. But both work, but the breath is something that I see that is almost like that husband or wife to you, because when you learn the aspect and you know the connection of unity and oneness in the breath, you actually can have the experience of not being lonely. What I mean by that is when you understand that you are not alone, that higher self, yourself, whatever name you give it to, spiritual aspect, cosmic aspect, universal, whatever name you give it, is that the breath never leaves you. We're a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, and wife. There's divorces. Your kids even grow up and they go on their own and they leave the house, and their foundation of everything important isn't so much the parents anymore. They go out and create their own families and do those type of things, or go out and become independent. But the breath always stays connected to you. And guess what? It doesn't argue with you, but it gives you an aspect of yourself. If you get some alchemy, you start understanding yourself in a higher self, because all is self. Know thyself. Go within your temple, and you start understanding how that breath and the techniques of breath can exalt you, can give you a higher elevation of yourself in consciousness, which will give you a higher creative aspect. That's why even when you look at the military, they teach breathing aspects to their frogmen, who at times may have to hold their breath for a number of minutes. And the brain default is that you can't. But the truth of it, you've oxygenated yourself with such deep breaths that your bloodstream's oxygenated that you don't need breath at this time. So that's some of the things you have to look at when you're seeing this, is that aspect of the breath is there, and it's so connected to you. I see it as like that wife or that husband, and people are lonely. If you're lonely and you feel alone, meet your breath and have a relationship with your breath. I'm telling you, it won't leave you like your husband or wife may leave you. They can get tired of you. You might get tired of them, or it just may not work in your relationship. But breath doesn't leave you. But sometimes we don't understand what the breath is, and we don't connect into a higher relationship with our breath. This is what I'm talking about. This breath as a child is an automatic, natural thing. Just automatic, natural thing. breath as a child is an automatic, natural thing. Now, as you grow and become an adult, an adept, an alchemy, you work on your alchemy, you work on your sovereignty. How am I saying that right? Sovereignty. And that's what we need to be working on at this time, to me. Like I said, if this video is not for you, if you're not looking for a higher self, you're not looking for higher consciousness, and you're still in another place, not ready, and if you are looking for it, we can help you. But if you're somebody who's not even thinking there and you're in a whole different thinking, this is definitely not for you. But if you are, and you're waking up and you're in a situation where you're thinking, I would need to make a decision of what is going on because I don't see things exactly right, and that's part of waking up to the matrix, right? You start seeing this, something doesn't fit. This isn't what it seems. It's not all that it seems. This doesn't give me any kind of, there's just something about this. I know that I know it ain't right. I can't give you the design yet. I can't give you how I know, but within myself, I know that there's something about this whole thing just isn't jiving with me. It just doesn't work. And I know there's more to this than meets the eye. So the relationship in those breathing techniques that you connect with your breathing aspect of yourself, you're going to connect to this breathing aspect of yourself, is knowing the techniques will take you above and beyond through the elevation of these techniques of the breathing. You have to be active breathing. That's why people who understand the breathing techniques, and one of the things, if you do any stretching, you did any yoga, they always say breathe, because once you breathe into a stretch, you'll actually see that the limitation before the breath of the next stretch, that you're actually exceeding, elevating, going past the past stretch through the breath by letting go. Take it in and you take it out. You're actually taking it in and letting it go. This is even things that it's connected to us in aspects of our life of holding grudges, having anger issues, is because we get stuck. It's not as simple as breathing in and out, but it can be. But we haven't learned the techniques of breathing will help those other techniques be something that we can get past. Amen. If you can listen, and I know amen. I know that the word amen is pushed in an agenda of religion, but I know it comes from definitely Amun, which would be Egypt. Just decoding stuff as we've been giving propagated lies that are not necessarily where they came from in words, and especially etymology. And I'll do some other things, but I wanted to hit on this breath. The elevation of knowing breathing techniques is the front door of higher consciousness. It is your fuel to your fire, to take you through the water, which is connected to your 75% water. This is elements and alchemy I'm talking about, and will elevate you to a higher consciousness in the air by breathing, which produces a fire in your solar plexus, because you got to breathe from that point. And as you learn these breathing techniques, it elevates you into even the fire of your pineal gland that explodes. This is the technique of what it does. And then you go into that crown chakra, and then you have the sun, which is the higher. But remember, your solar plexus are in the center of yourself, right? In that center of yourself is your sun, your soul, your solar plexus. Even the bottom of your feet are called the sole of your feet. So it's even connected there in a foundation of yourself. And this is, I was listening to somebody that listens to this podcast, that started a podcast, and they were bringing out how the unity of that lower self or the lower chakras actually are the fuel for the rocket ride. If you don't have a good foundation, if you go high, you will fall, because you got to have roots. You got to be rooted. That's why the root chakra, work on it if it's a problem for you. And your sacral, it's called the sacral, but the sacral, because it is sacred. Sex energy in that part of your body is a sacred energy. Many people try to vilify it, but we're going to reverse engineer the lies that have been told. I do. I'll even do a video, a podcast on the deprogrammer. That's one of the things. Let me write that down. That may be something coming soon about learning how to deprogram yourself from the programming that's been given through our education system, through the media, through TV, and through the colonization that we've had. Is just a lot of false information that program us. And that's why, if you notice, even through English, and I'll even get on that, is that English is not a very good communication language. If you just really pay attention, be aware, you'll see that a lot of times within the language, reading, writing, and talking, that you will see that it always seems to bring up enemies or a misunderstanding, that people have enemies with another person just by the coding of the language. And we can go around that. That's part of the deprogramming we must do. But really quick, it connects to the full cycle of yourself if you learn to breathe. You're going now into the cosmology of yourself. Notice I said breathing in through your lungs. The lungs are Gemini. That's what they mean. The lungs are the twins. We're in that twin season right now. This is the part of the zodiac. The lungs are connected. The two lungs are the twins. Breathing is also, we become conscious, and it also inspires. It's a tool that can inspire you. In the Hebrew, it means spirit. It also can mean an expansion and an elaboration of yourself, and actually give you a microscope or a scope. And you know, with a microscope or the word scope, you're getting a bird's eye view. And check this out. We're living in what year? 2020, which is, in the scope of the matter, would be perfect eyesight or a clarity. We're seeing beyond the distortions of them who distorted stuff and distorted all kinds of aspects, but we are starting to see the clarity of this through the 2020 scope of our vision. Breathing is very important. That's part of what it means to even inspire. Another thing I wanted to say, that we've kind of looked at karma as being a judgment. I'm going to tell you now, quit looking at karma as being your judgment, but looking at karma in another way. Start looking at karma as being an inspiration or a motivator, because you can actually fulfill your karmic duty in this lifetime by the motivation of something lesson you need to learn. When you go within yourself and you within yourself take responsibility for yourself, you will see the absolutely greatest aspect of the pole of yourself in a higher way, in a higher consciousness, right? But you can turn and see the other 180 of that pole will show you things of yourself that may need help, or could be a downfall. It could be just, it's your yin and yang. Allow the karmic lesson to be the motivator to learn the lesson. And you will see it in another light. So much of what we see in